Thursday night football is here. You guys see the gear. So if you're expecting to hear anything else on today's show, then you can go to another channel. You can go to another YouTube video because it's prime time. It's Eagles. It's Commanders. It is Thursday night football. It is the divisional game. And I've got 3 winners on the way for you guys on today's card. This is the free 3. Let's get into it. What's up, guys? It's your boy Noble Living back with another DYFX video. I'm bringing down my favorite picks and plays of the day as we're trying to get to that bag together and make some money. I got to chirping yesterday and I got had to eat my words a little bit. Yesterday, 1 and 2 day. I wanted that 2-1 day really badly, right? I knew that NC State, Coastal Carolina under was cooked in the first half. I mean, both those teams were running and gunning, hitting all their shots. They scored like 70 combined points in the first half, so I knew that was over. That was chalk. So I was like, can the Knicks pull it out? Can the Knicks pull it out? I'm in New York right now, waiting, watching the game. And they lost. They sold. They sold on the moneyline parlay 2 days in a row where we cooked up a nice 3-teamer moneyline parlay, and we sold by 1 leg. So it's pretty safe to say that we're going to be done with the 3-team moneyline parlays for a little bit. So we're going to put that to the side. Our only win on the day was the Tennessee on the spread. Not too bad to see them get that done. A 30-point W there against Montana. No sweat bet there. 1 and 2 on the day yesterday. No need to kind of harp on it for too long. You can see our record real quickly here. Beautiful part is we've been doing good in the NFL, so let's keep the momentum going, especially in these primetime games. So let's keep that momentum going today. If you have not hit that subscribe button, I don't know what you're doing. We're almost at 1,000 subscribers. Help me get to 1,000 subscribers, guys, and I'll give you guys a plus $1,000 parlay, $100 to win $1,000. I like to hit those 10x parlays, so if you guys want one of those, help me get about 80 more subscribers here on the channel. I appreciate all the love and support. Thank you for all the people who've been supporting from day one. We're getting some good momentum here on the channel, and we're trying to just keep it going. So appreciate it, family. Let's keep it going, and let's dive into these winners for today. All right, first best bet of the day, Thursday night football. You guys probably know where we're going. Eagles, Commanders, who's going to pull it out? And I'm not biased here. I'm really not. And you guys have tapped into the channel. You guys know I don't always take the Eagles. I don't always take them to win because I'm a fan. And I know there are going to be times when my team lets me down. And there are going to be times when the Eagles are not going to cover the spread. But that's not going to happen today. The Eagles are going to win. They're going to cover the spread. And we're going to get this W, and we're going to take first place in the division and have a grass money for the remainder of the regular season. I already know it. So, Eagles, minus 3.5, minus 110 odds. Now, if you can get this at 2.5, I would do that because you guys know I like that field goal hook kind of situation. This 3.5 number is a key number in football, but they tax for that point. They really, really do. It's going to be like minus 140, minus 130. I don't know what it's going to be, but a little bit too much than I'm willing to lay. So maybe you want to wait for it to happen live. Maybe the Commanders get the ball first, drive down the field, and we can get the Eagles at a cheaper value. So maybe you want to go this. But the Eagles are going to win this game, okay? They're on a 5-game win streak. Ever since they had their bye week in week 5, Vic Mangino has really been able to spend more time with that defense, really get them going. And that's why the Eagles defense is 7th in DVOA right now. It's shout out to our 2 rookie cornerbacks, Quentin Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Cooper DeJean, man, I mean, he's been really, really good. He's going to break off a punt at some point this season. But the thing about the Eagles, what they're doing in this Vic Mangino defense is they're keeping teams in front of them. And when they're keeping teams in front of them and they're not giving up the deep ball and they're not giving up the explosive plays like we were seeing before the bye week, this eats up a lot of clock. It leads to long possessions. And when you have Saquon on the other side, who's running the ball literally 20 times a game, that means that there's not a whole lot of offensive possessions here for these teams to really compete with the Eagles, especially if you're turning over the ball like we saw last week against the Cowboys. And the thing is, yes, I get it. The Eagles have not necessarily have played the best of quarterbacks recently, so you can take that 7th in DVOA stat, with a grain of salt. But this is the thing, right? The Eagles are at home tonight, primetime game. We haven't had a primetime game in a little while. They've been flexing us out of the spots for whatever reason. And then now the Eagles are really having their first full healthy team of the entire season. A.J. Brown's going to be playing. We got Dallas Goedert back last week. You love to see that. We mentioned the young corners. We saw Darius Slay got banged up a little bit in last week's game, but he came back, and I love the fact that it is a short week. We know how teams tend to spud on a short week, but the Eagles only played 3 quarters last week. At least the starters did. Why? Because we were blowing out the Cowboys, and we put the bench in. So that means that they should be rested. That means they shouldn't have been banged up. That means they should have had a little bit of extra time to kind of recover. recover. And the fact that it was a blowout means that extra stress of like playing in a tight competitive game wasn't necessarily there. And you love to see that. Now, when you look at the numbers, everything says take the Eagles. The Eagles are 6-0 when A.J. Brown plays. That enough is for me to take it. A.J. Brown, he is a difference maker, especially for Jalen Hurts. But when you also look at the numbers, the Eagles are 11-2 straight up and 10-2-1 as home favorites of 7 points or less in the Nick Sirianni era. Well, guess what? Now that we have a spread lower than 7, I like this here. The Eagles, all the numbers say take the Eagles. And then when you also look at the Commanders on their side, that play, I texted my boy Ryan last week, who's also an Eagles fan, and I said, when that bro jumped off sides, I don't know his name, when Russell Wilson was doing the hard snap count, everybody knew what was going to happen. Like, we all knew that they were going to try to get him to jump off sides and they were going to punt it. Yes, I know the Zach Ertz catch before that was a first down. That's neither here nor there. But he jumped off sides. And when he jumped off sides and they gave the Steelers the new fresh set of downs so they could take a knee to run out the clock, I had told my boy, I said, the Commanders lost the division right there on that play. They lost the division right there on that play. Because keep in mind, it was only a 1-point game against the Steelers. So all they needed was a field goal. And yes, they didn't have many timeouts, but they still had a minute to drive down the field. And we know what Jalen Daniels can do with both his legs and his arm. And we saw them hit a Hail Mary already once this season. So you can't count them out. But when he jumped off sides, you never gave that offense a chance. And when you do that, that now has ripple effects all across not just the team, but your entire season now that you're playing on a short week and after a very competitive game against the Steelers. And now you have to come on the road to a hostile environment in the Eagles. Jaden Daniels, he's been impressive this season. Don't get me wrong, but he has not played a team or a defense like the Eagles just yet. And when you look at it, right, the Commanders, their last 3 games have been decided by 5 points or less. They had to take a Hail Mary against the Bears. They beat the Giants by literally 5 points, and that was a close game. Then we saw last week they lost to the Steelers. And then when you look at it, the Steelers are really the only true offense that they have played this season that's like a top 10 offense. Now you're facing the Eagles, top 10 offense with weapons like Saquon and Devontae Smith. I'm not even going to go down the list. You guys know. And when you lose a game like you did last week, yes, the refs hold you, but also on a mind-boggling play on an offsides when you knew it was going to happen, that's very hard to recover from. And for me, it's not going to be able to get it done. Commanders offense, like I mentioned, has faced the 3rd easiest schedule against defenses this season. And the way that the Eagles defense is playing right now since the bye week, it's inspired. I love them here in this spot. This is a smash spot at home. Eagles have all the momentum right now. They know the division is theirs if they can win this game. I'm taking the Eagles -3.5. Don't overthink it. All the numbers say take them. We're locking this in as our first pick of the day. For my second best bet of the day, if the Eagles are going to win this game, obviously Jalen Hurts is going to be involved in making that happen. But how is he going to be involved? And you guys know, I love to take the pass attempts line, but Jalen Hurts, he has not been throwing the ball recently. And as a result, we're going to take under 28.5 pass attempts, -115 odds. Now, I really like this play, and I saw a guy on Just a Bet Outside. I don't know his name, but I just recently tapped into his channel, and he had this play on there, and it's actually a play I had circled. And when he gave his sell job, I was like, yeah, this gives me a little bit more confidence to take this play. Why? Because the Eagles, ever since the bye week, have completely decided we need to revamp some things, get the ball out of Hurts' hands, make him make plays when he needs to, but let's depend more on Saquon that we just paid all this money to. Let's use our star wide receivers. Let's get them out in lanes and let's get them out to be able to make a play. And let's use our legs when we need to. Obviously, Jalen Hurts, we've seen in seasons past where he's been injured and he hasn't want to run the ball that much, but that's not been the case this year. Even the last 2 games, 56 yards rushing last week, 67 yards rushing the week before that. But look at the numbers for Jalen Hurts in terms of pass attempts. To start the regular season, he had 34 against the Packers. He had 30 against the Falcons. He had 38 against the Saints. He had 30 against the Buccaneers. And then he had the bye week. After the bye week, 25 against the Browns, 14 against the Giants, 20 against the Bengals, 24 against the Jaguars, 20 against the Cowboys. Last 5 games, he's gone under this total. Now, I get it. Now, some of those quarterbacks that he's played in that 5-game stretch have not been that impressive. Only person really would be Joe Burrow. But again, the Eagles are making a conscious effort to run the ball, to get Saquon in space, to not let Jalen Hurts force throws. And when he's not forcing throws, guess what? He's not turning over the ball. And when he's not turning over the ball, guess what? The Eagles are winning games. This has been the formula that has been working very well for the Eagles, and they're not going to go from it away from it now that they're at home in this matchup, and maybe because the fans are going to be asking. The only biggest thing is if they don't get down early. If they get down early, they're going to give up a lot of points. But like I mentioned in the last pick, the way that they play that defense is keeping the players in front of them. That should eat up a lot of clock, and that should also now force the Eagles on the other side to be able to run the ball. Like I said, if they keep the offense in front of them, they don't allow a whole lot of explosive plays, that should be working the clock just as much as the Eagles are going to, and that should allow him to be able to go under this. Now, another thing that I like, right, is the Commanders. They're the 5th worst team in all of football in terms of rushing yards allowed per game, giving them 142 rushing yards per game. So what does that mean? Teams run the ball a lot on them, and which means they're not going to throw the ball a lot on them. Washington is actually the #1 team in the league where teams throw the ball the least amount. 27 pass attempts a game are teams throwing the ball against the Commanders. So that alone, I like the fact that that's just what that team does. And given the fact that the Eagles are making a conscious effort to not let Jalen Hurts throw the ball a lot, I love that as well. So give me Hurts under 28.5 pass attempts is our second best bet of the day. For our third and final pick of the day, I did want to give you guys another Eagle pick, but I will go to the other side, and we'll go to the Commanders. So this way we can play both sides, just for whatever reason. If the Commanders do win this game, it's going to be because of Mr. Jaden Daniels, okay? The rookie's going to make some things happen. And don't get me wrong, Jaden Daniels has been impressive so far his rookie season. Hopefully he can win Offensive Rookie of the Year. There was MVP talks at the beginning of the season. I think that's quieted down a little bit. Shout out to Lamar. But he should be able to throw on this Eagles defense. So we're going to go over 223.5 passing yards, minus 115 odds on Caesar. Shop around for this line because I'm seeing 221, I'm seeing 219, I'm seeing 226. I'm seeing a whole lot of numbers. I'm not going to be surprised if this bumps up to like 230 by game time. I would take that as well, okay? So when you look at Jaden Daniels, he's gone under this number in the last 2 games, right? He's failed to go over this number because I took him last week for his passing yards. He just missed about like 10, 15 yards, but he still went under nonetheless. He's exceeded this number in all but 4 games this year. So the past 2 weeks, one other game where he exited injury with the rib injury, and then one other start earlier in the year that he went under this number. Now he's facing Eagles defense that I just mentioned is 7th in DVOA. They're 5th in rushing yards allowed per game. And right now with the banged up Brian Robinson, I'm not sure if he's playing right now. Austin Eckler, he's lost that kind of step from out of the backfield. He can still catch it pretty well, but with how strong that Eagles run defense is in that defensive line, I don't expect him to do too much. But this Eagles pass defense is right now 3rd in allowing passing yards per game at about 173.5. So you're saying, no, but why would you take the 223.5? Because the Eagles have not necessarily faced the most grueling of schedules when it comes down to the best quarterbacks. I have to be honest as an Eagles fan about that. I mentioned it earlier. Daniel Jones for the Giants, Deshaun Watson, Cooper Rush last week, a struggling Jaguars offense and Trevor Lawrence. They haven't really faced the quarterbacks that are dynamic enough to say, you know what, I'm willing to take that risk here against them. And the quarterbacks who can sling the ball, Baker Mayfield, 347, Jordan Love, 260, Kirk Cousins, 241, Joe Burrow, 234. So all of the quarterbacks who are really known for throwing the ball, they've been able to go over this number here. And I think that early on, the Commanders are going to realize they're not going to be able to run the ball in this potent defensive line for the Eagles, which is going to force the ball into Jaden Daniels' hand. And just keep in mind, the rookies have been playing good for the Eagles, but they're still rookies at the end of the day. Terry McLaurin is still an all-pro wide receiver, a pro bowler out there, who now is more of just a focal point in the offense. Jaden Daniels and him have a very good connection. Last week, Scary Terry had 80, 90 yards. Did he crack 100? I'm not sure, but he had a great game last week. So this is the thing. They're going to be able to throw the ball. The question is, how much points are they going to score? And I don't think they're going to outscore the Eagles here. Well, I'm taking them on 3.5. But I do think he's going to go over this 223.5 number. But if the Commanders do win this game, if you are on the Commanders, I do think that he is going to have to hit this number for them to win this game. So for me, this is my way of playing the Commanders W or playing them being in a competitive game if it's not just a pure blowout. And even if it is a two-possession game, it's going to lead to more passing attempts and more yards as well. Zach Ertz, very familiar with this crowd, very familiar with the stadium as well. Not to say that matters. He's in the tail end of his career. But that's just another weapon here that you can kind of think about as well. So for me, Jaden Daniels over 223.5 passing yards. I expect him to get this. I don't think the Eagles are going to allow him to burn him too much on the ground because, again, the way that Big Man Gino plays that defense, he runs this linebackers closer to the line of scrimmage. So unless they're running a whole lot of option plays, which they're not really doing much this year, I expect them to be able to do quick dip and dunks, quick little streak routes, slant routes, get their receivers the ball quickly and out in space to kind of make a play, which, they could break 1 or 2, but overall, I see the 223.5 happening here as our third and final pick of the day. Well, that's it for me today, my friends. 3 best bets that I've given you guys on today's Thursday night football matchup. Sorry for no NBA. Sorry for no college basketball. The college basketball slate today is ugly as hell. And the NBA, I mean, I'm not going to force if I don't need it to. We have a whole season of NBA. So when we've got Eagles on prime time, we're taking the Eagles on prime time. So for today, Eagles -3.5. I would wait for the game to start, maybe get it live, depending on who wins the coin flip, to maybe see if you can get a little bit of a cheaper number there, at least under that field goal hook. Give me Jalen Hurts under 28.5 passing yards, and then we're going to wrap it up with Jaden Daniels over 223.5 passing yards. That's going to get us done on this Thursday night slate. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll probably be celebrating a sweep and an Eagles victory. As always, go Birds, fly Eagles fly, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. And if you want some more bonus picks, because I'll probably have an added NBA player prop or something, click the link in the description, join the free Discord group, and I've got you guys. All right, my friends, let's get to that cheddar, and I'll see you on tomorrow's video. Later, gang.